Hey, what's going on? So, my first video was of my top reads of 2020, what most people were doing. But the more that I was looking at my list and the types of books that I had on there and other people's lists and all of that, I was seeing a lot of the same books on all of them. And while that's not a bad thing to have a lot of the heavy hitters on there because, they're big, top, popular heavy hitter books for a reason. I even tried to have some variety and some unheard of ones on mine or a little bit more low key ones. But I just kept coming back to all the books that I read, and there were still some really good, unique books out there that might not have cracked my top tier of the year, but I still wanted to kind of recognize some of them. So I really wanted to do a low key, under the radar, at least all but most of them are pretty under the radar, but a very low key top books from 2020 for ones that might be really off people's radar and just to shine a light on some of them. Uh, so a lot. I try and spread out what I read during the year for from the big series because I have a list of all the big series that I need to catch up on. But I still try and fit in other like self pub authors, or Kindle Unlimited because I'm a bargain book buyer. I always try and get Kindle Unlimited for at least 2 to 3 months or something, and I can just knock out some of those ones, which it's a lot of 3 and 4 tier reads usually, but there's still some really good ones that will sneak up on you, and I think they're really great, especially to discover some of those on your own that nobody else has read or nobody else is talking about on BookTube or anything like that. So that's kind of the ones that I want to talk to here. So the first one I'm going to get into is called The Water Mite Thief. This one was really interesting, and it fulfilled one of my wife and I did it. We made up our own reading challenge last year, and fulfilled one of the criteria, just the ones we found. And it's really unique because it has dragons, it has magic. I think it might be in the YA side of things, but the difference here is that the magic that they have to there's a there's a balance to what how much magic they have and they can use, and their magic stores can run out. So I guess almost like Mistborn, to where you can burn off all your stores, so what you have. So therefore, there are thieves that will go out and steal this magic. So the magic is called Watermite, and there's thieves that will go out and steal it. And how they steal it, some is that they can manipulate it, and a lot of time I think what she does, she steals it from dragons because it exists in like their stomach or something. I forgot how it goes, but so dragons play a big part on this, and people ride dragons in these. The dragons are also very different. I don't know what type of dragons they are, but from what I remember, these dragons have feathers, which is kind of crazy and kind of different. And they use the feathers for things. But either way, the magic is kind of cool. It's interesting how it goes, and not everybody uses it. Some can have it, some can manipulate it. But if you're manipulating that water mite in the magic, that means somebody else can manipulate it too. So it was very interesting in that way. I wanted to get to the second one. It is a series. I think it is a 5 book series. But one thing cool about this is that this is a Kindle Unlimited book. So if you've been thinking about or do get Kindle Unlimited, this is a book on Kindle Unlimited, which means you can just get it for free. And I think right now, Kindle Unlimited is going for 3 months for free. You can get or something like that. At the time of this recording, they always have crazy deals like that, and it's initially to get you in, and then you can just quit and back off. And you can have 10 titles on Kindle Unlimited at a time. But not here to talk about Kindle Unlimited. Water by Thief was pretty cool to check out because of the unique magic system and how the dragons are differently portrayed, and some of the secrecy and such behind it, the world. The next one I'm going to recommend, I'm going to probably, it might be my highest recommendation on this list, maybe mostly because of not many people knowing about it. And that's called Never Die. It is a adult Asian inspired fantasy, and it was really unique and really cool. It was this kid is assembling a group of warriors. They're legendary warriors. Each of these warriors have their own specialty. They're famed. They have these stories and songs about them. But he is recruiting these warriors to go take down an emperor. And it shows them along their journey of how, like, with the perspective you do is from one character, and it shows how you go along, or there's, I think there's 2 perspectives, but it shows them how they go along in recruiting these warriors and how they get together, how as they go along the action gets crazier, there's like spirit energies, spirit uh being spirit creatures that are attacking them, and like the dead are coming back to life and things like that. So all these things are after them to stop them to go take out the emperor. And a lot of crazy things happen, a lot of craziness with the action. It was really interesting, and even toward the end, there's a little bit of humor in it, but toward the end, it has a few really good twists and turns and surprises to it that I really enjoyed. And even my wife, she wasn't a huge fan of the whole book; it wasn't her style, but she said the ending was good and was pretty fulfilling. She didn't see it coming either, so it was really cool to read. It was really fun, really short. It's less than 300 pages. And what I'm realizing this now, I just found out this yesterday, is that this author, so Never Dies, written by Robert J. Hayes, and was the first book in a Mortal Techniques series. So he's making a Mortal Techniques series. There's another one that comes out called Pawn's Gambit that I don't know much about. I assume it's all new characters, but it exists in the same world. So there's new characters, new warriors, new action things can happen. So I'm going to be checking that one out soon. I think it comes out in January. But this one was really good. Never Die. It apparently won some awards as well for self-published and whatnot, and it is also a Kindle Unlimited book. The next one, wow, this one's Kindle Unlimited too. All right, yeah. See, I try and do the Kindle Unlimited thing. The next one, this one's going to be kind of kooky, kind of weird. Most of these, I would say, any book in this one is really good. It's a palate cleanser, even though they are a couple of them are series or part of longer series. You can do them as a palate cleanser. That's pretty much how I did them myself. So the Palace Job is it is very odd. I might read the synopsis just because of it, but I really, really love the Ocean's 11 movies, the Ocean's 11, 12, and 13 movies. That whole concept of a heist. And part of the reading challenge that my wife and I needed was a one about a heist or a robbery, thieves, something like that. And Water might check something else. So I found the Palace Job. And it's basically an Ocean's 11 type heist, but in the fantasy world and like super fantastical. There is, let's see, I'm going to read this little snippet from the synopsis. The plan to steal a priceless elven manuscript that once belonged to her family, but now is in the hands of the most powerful man in the Republic. To do so, Locke, former soldier, prisoner, current fugitive, must assemble a crack team of magical misfits that includes a cynical illusionist, a shape shifting unicorn, a repentant death priestess, a talking magical warhammer, and a lad with seemingly no skills to help her break into a floating fortress of Heaven's Spire and the vault that holds her family's treasure, all while eluding unrelenting pursuit of blah 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 blah. Yeah. So her band is yes, a shape shifting unicorn, a talking hammer. There's sass, there's camaraderie, there's twists and turns. It's a heist. You, it's hard to see what's coming and how they go through things. It's really interesting, really cool, very unique. So it's one of those off the wall palette cleansers that if you just want to have fun reading, it is 440 pages, so it's not as short as you might think, but it was a fun read, and it is the first in a series. It looks like there's three of them. I don't know if it's a trilogy or if there's more. I will probably try and continue it sometime this year if and when I get Kindle Unlimited again because it was fun. And a lot of times those fun, crazy reads that you don't take too seriously are what you really need in between your epic fantasies that you might be reading that are longer and more adult and just more robust. All right, next, the guest list. So on my big reads, my main top reads, I had the Chestnut Man for my thriller mystery. Well, this is basically in the same vein as that. It is a mystery thriller, and once again, the blinds kind of blur on this one. I think this is more toward the thriller side than mystery. Whereas Chestnut Man, where they were trying to catch a serial killer. Um, this thriller, they're just trying to they're kind of trying to figure that out. But there's a wedding that happens on a island in off of Ireland somewhere. Um, but there's a wedding. All these people are coming to it. You kind of know from the beginning that somebody turns up dead. So as you're going through the book, you're like, it's almost like you start at the end and then it goes backwards to the beginning. And then like the characters are introduced, they weave and you find out secrets about them of like, oh, okay, maybe this person did it because of this. Oh, well, what about this person because of this? And you see how they intertwine and how some of the people are like, some of the good people you think are good aren't good and vice versa. So how they twist and turn and the conclusion of it was good. It is a quick read. Over the summer, my wife and I got a lake house just for a weekend, and I read it during the weekend, which, a creepy thriller you wouldn't think to read on a lake house weekend, but I did it, and I finished the whole thing on that weekend. So it was really good. I would recommend it. There are multiple POVs on this for whenever you take over a different character, and then you see characters through their eyes and such like that. So I would recommend it um, for a quick thriller mystery type read. The next two, or my last two, I guess, I don't even know how much I'm talking about, are going to be probably the most popular ones on this list. So I'm not going to talk too much about them. The first one is All Systems Red. So the first book in the Murderbot Diaries. And this one was a low key, more of a low key good read. And I know that it's got a lot of hype from a lot of people. It is really good. It is really short. They're almost, I think they're like novellas. And there's however many, 8 or 9 books in the 6 books in the series, something like that. So I plan on continuing. I've actually owned this for 2 years or so now. And when I first bought it, I was going through, it was almost bittersweet, or now reading it, but when I first bought it 2 years, or whenever I bought it, I was looking for a sci-fi, and I was searching through Google. This kept coming up, so I was like, okay, I'll buy it. And once I got it, I opened it up on my Kindle, and I saw that it was only 150 pages, and I was like, what the hell? That's not a real book. I want to actually read a real story with a long. I don't want to do this novella short thing. So I immediately put it down, didn't pick it back up. And then I was also pretty mad because the first book was, I forgot. I think the first book was on sale, but then I went and looked at the future books in the series, and they're all like $11, and they're still only 150 pages. And I'm just thinking, there's 3, 4, 500 page books out there that are not, that are like $7, $8. And to me, I don't know why. Just I'm a cheap bargain book buyer, so when I see low page count books that cost more than big time stories, it just rubs me the wrong way, even though it shouldn't. But I finally picked up All Simpsons Red because it was toward the end of my year last year, and I just needed a quick read, and I was in the mood for sci-fi, and this was perfect. It was fantastic. The robot is sassy. I saw the review from Media Death Cult, and I'm on the same page as him, as he was reading from this perspective of the robot, and he immediately pegged it as a female, and I immediately thought it was female too. I was almost picturing the actress who played Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones. She's a voice of like the robot from uh, the Han Solo movies, and it's kind of like that character, that robot, but just less sassy, just like a little bit more subdued and reined in a little bit. But that's it was a fun read though. I enjoyed the inner dialogue with it, and what they were going through, and a little bit of a twist, as much as they can in 150 pages. So there's going to be a lot better reviews out there for All Systems Red, but I would recommend this one. It is, the first book is at a bit of a discount, especially on Kindle, but from there you'll proceed at your own. And then the last one, this one really took me by surprise for low key. And I think I might just be late to the party on this. And that's The Last Kingdom. So, book one in the Saxon Tales. Um, and this is what the Netflix show is based off of, The Last Kingdom. A buddy of mine recommended it, I think. And I saw that it was like 12 or 15 books long. And I knew that the show was a thing. So I figured, okay, maybe this will be one of those things, kind of like The Expanse, where I start the books, and this one I'm doing on audiobooks. The audiobook narrator for this is fantastic. I think he's an actual actor. I forget who he is, but the narrator for this is fantastic. All the other ones I actually read, all on Kindle. Oh, I got one more for this. But the narrator for this is really good. The first book is really short, and it goes really quick. It's crazy. It's really fun. The keeping up with the names and the locations, and how Uhtred keeps changing sides on like a whim, and he's just going all over the place and doing crazy things. And it's pretty much the same thing in book two. So I've read the first two of them, and they're really good. They're great for right now. I am kind of swapping back and forth between Dresden and and the Saxon books, because they are completely different, but kind of fun to just go back and forth. So I get my urban magic sassy fix on Dresden, and then I get my just straight up war Viking tales in on the Saxon ones, and then some nonfiction sprinkled in. So this is really cool. And if you like the show, the books are really good. And obviously, I think they're going to tell you more. I haven't started the show yet, but one day I will. I think my wife is interested as well. She liked book one of the Saxon tales as well. So I'd recommend this for a good palate cleanser, a good, historical type fantasy setting. If you just want some war, some good old fashioned Viking killing. And then my last book, which I almost forgot about, I sometimes like to sprinkle in middle grade books. So I mostly primarily read adult fantasy. That's just what strikes me. I've kind of moved away from YA because some things can be annoying or cheesy, and like they pander to too much of the masses because that's just their moneymaker. Whatever, you do you. Some of them are cool, but I still go back to some middle grade. And this past year, so the year before, it was the Rivers of the Lost City. That one's good. I'm still continuing that eventually. One thing that middle grade does do is that because they're not adult, they can't have as much, the crazy action, the dialogue, the romance and things like that. Not if I care about romance, but they have to get creative with some of their plots and their characters and their work like that. So they can be really worth the read, especially as a palate cleanser from these heavier, bigger series. Again, this is a great way to break it up. And one I'm talking about is Green Glass House, and I really liked this. I read the second book this past year as well. It's also very environmental. So I read these around Christmas because the books take place around Christmas. So it's a very wintry, snowy feel. I believe it takes place in Canada at an inn, and the the main character is from a 12-year-old who is adopted, and all these people come to the inn, and they're all there for a specific reason. They don't act like they know each other, but they're all there to uncover or find something within the house about the house, and Milo is picking it up of what they're there for, and he's trying to discover, and like he is kind of essentially solving a mystery of each person and things within the house, because the house is very old. It has a ton of secrets. It used to be used by smugglers or house smugglers and all that. So there's a lot of secrets within the house, secrets within the people, and how they weave together. It's pretty wholesome. So great family read. So if you have kids or just like middle grades or just ones you can hang on to for a while, you can read it. So adults can enjoy it, especially around the holidays. So maybe bookmark it for next year. There are several in the series. I've only read the first two, and then the next two I think take place not around Christmas, because I think they would just beat a dead horse if they kept bringing it back to Christmas. But it was fun. They were a lot thicker than I would think, page count wise, but there was a lot of goodness to the plot. Yeah, so I would give that one a try, because you can then pass it on to maybe kids or whatever sibling, something that you might have. And that one looks like it's also on Kindle Unlimited as well, but I have the physical books because they look pretty good. So that is all for my low key reads of the year. Again, I didn't count these up. I'm just talking about books. So, what were some of your low key reads that might not be on the top of everybody's lists, that maybe either took you by surprise, that feels like you need some sort of recognition? They might not be up in the top tier, but if it's self published, that's still really good for them to be. It's still 5-star reads, but not beating out the big boys. So, let me know what that is and what you think.